name is Nsonya, and today I'll be facilitating a tough conversation based on social justice art with different youth refugees that have been through different experiences. And without further ado, on my right I have...
My name is Mugisho. I'm originally from the Republic Democratic of Congo. I lived in Uganda as a refugee for 7 years. And since I've settled in Canada, I've been active in the community, and I work with several service organizations which provide support to refugees.
Perfect.
My name is Marc Katonde. I came from Namibia, originally from Democratic Republic of Congo. And I've been here for 5 years now, and I'm a care assistant. Thank you.
My name is Saeed. I'm originally from Syria. I left Syria when I was 15, and I came from Jordan directly to here to Canada as a refugee 8 years ago, and now I'm working with the YMCA.
And my name is Chadia Kayinamura. I'm originally from Congo. I stayed in Uganda as a refugee for 10 years, and I have been here in Canada for 7 years. I'm a student, and I also active youth in the community. And yeah, that's all I know about me.
My name is Sarah Nyazungu. I was a refugee in Uganda, but I'm originally from DRC Congo. I have been here for 7 years, and currently I'm going to school, and yeah.
We have all the active youth in the community, and thank you guys for sharing. That was an amazing introduction. We have different topics we would like to talk about, and based on our experiences and what we have lived. So I would like to start with praise, if that's okay with you. What are the things that you think people should know, or what I like to call what we wish they should know?
All right. I will focus on service providers in general.
Go ahead.
And when I'm talking about service providers, I want to start with rank number 1. So I'm going to the IRCC first. So the refugee journey is not an easy one, and settling in a new country required a lot of patience and experience. And as a youth with lived experience, we look for stability. That is our priority. And when we get here, we are so grateful to Canada, because this is our last stop. There is no next stop. So there is a rush, and that rush creates trauma. And that trauma, as refugees coming to a new place where we will be calling home, I would wish to have more time to digest all the information which I was given to the starting point. Mm-hmm. So as a youth, and as an old person, let's say, for example, our parents, because when they do come here, they are already on a second age period. So during that period, we know it's all about grants, it's all about funding, and we know how much the government do care to provide that support. But the information which they do receive at the starting point it's too much, and in a certain amount of months, they don't recall everything. And without forgetting all the barriers and all the challenges they are coming with, like language barriers and culture shock as well, and let's say finances and using the technology, there is, I will say, the rhythm they are working with those families create a mental issue after a couple of months or a couple of years, and the expectation which we do come with. We realize that Canada is not the same thing we were thinking it is because of the pressure. So what I would wish for is during that period to have a time where you could sit with the families and ask them what they need. Because the major point is to provide support according to the need, not only to fill in administrative documentation and thinking, okay, we have provided this support, but the question is, Are those support meeting their needs, or we are only fulfilling the grant or the project or the funding idea? So number 2, I will go to caseworkers and counselors. So for caseworker and counselors, sometimes let me say myself, with a lived experience, when I'm having in front of me another refugees which I'm supporting, we tend to forget that they're newcomers. And of course, after a certain amount of year, we adapt. And when we adapt, we no longer connect because we are living like not like newcomer, but people who can say that, okay, we have already adapted and we become citizens. But those new people, of course, you have the lived experience. But the question is, do you connect? Do you still connect with those people? Because why? It's the communication. You will see one family having tremendous phone calls and they don't know which one to take because they never had that privilege to make decision on their life, depending with the background, living in a refugee camp, living where somebody else or UNHCR was having a say. And when you get here, this person will call, the other person will call, and you realize those families, especially our parents, they are feeling that they are being used like kids. They no longer have the full control of their life. And number 3, I'm going to talk about finances as well. So when we do arrive and see, all right, there is a structure about finances, there is a pattern, okay, this one you will be paying your house like this and like this. So the same stress, when they give it to the parent, they bring it back home. And as a youth, the parent, we are like an extra support to the parent. The major number 1 challenge the parent will tell you is, how are we gonna sustain our needs inside the household? And that need, it means indirectly, you need to find a job. Because I cannot speak the language and I need to find a job as soon as possible because the government is giving us 11 months for support, and after that, we will be going to social services.
Very true.
And we all know all the documentation and the stress because they do tell them after the 17th of every month, if you don't bring those documents, you don't report your pay stub and things like that, they won't pay for your rent. They won't pay for this. And then the parent, instead of being dynamic, of course, all refugees are resilient. We are, but we reach a time where we do break down, for sure. And we notice that the parent no longer have that joy. All about refugee is family and love and communication and that solidarity. And when in a household there is no longer that communication and that solidarity, you feel like it's no longer home for us. It's as if we are sub-renting with the parent, if I can use that word. We are like sub-renting with the parent. And there is no follow-up, there is no follow-through. So for caseworker, for different like counselors, no matter how long you have been in Canada, no matter your experience, but try to have that empathy, like I've been there. Connect first, build that trust with that person. May not let it to be just a thing of report or documentation or providing report back to IRCC, but ask yourself, did I reach the need or did I meet my goal of these people? Is he stable mentally, financially? Does he know how to navigate all the different systems because we are being plugged in a new system? Is this person, after a couple amount of months, will be able to be independent completely and keep his house or his family the same way they arrived here, because that's what we are aiming for. We have a culture to protect, we have values to keep. And with all those trauma, when they are coming inside the house, we realize that we don't have peace. We ask ourselves, like, we try to define once more, are we where we needed to be? Or is this a proper place to me? Or what should I do? And another thing is about technology. So this technology, most of refugees, we need to learn a difference between newcomers and refugees. And talking about that, there are certain refugees who never had that privilege to get connected to a world with a technology or digital world, like never before. And then when you are asking your parent, like, okay, we are creating an email for you, thank you, it's good. They are learning, but are they capable? All right, you will be checking your email every day. It's a new world to that person. They live for 20 years in a refugee camp without having even a cell phone, an Android one. And then you are creating a mode pass, a password. Oh, it's the French coming. So it's a password, right? And those passwords, others never had a chance to go to school. They don't know how to write. They don't know how to type. And when you are sending constant email, oh, you're missing this appointment. Did you ask that person, do you know how to use technology? How can we help? Like, where are you finding more barriers? And let's say with banking, the same thing. It doesn't have to be one-time thing to show the person. Do a follow-through, because mental health and mental issues are destroying the amount of home here in Canada. Why? Because of the pressure coming from service providers. And not only that, and when it comes to employment as well, the parents are feeling pressures to find employment, and then they are missing their responsibility and their roles as parents because they are trying to keep the balance between the outside world and the finance and the families. And we as youth, we are losing our parents, let's say, the communication, the relationship, the bonding, and the love and peace and the family we used to call home, we no longer have that image. Why? Because of the pressure. I know it's true, it's all about funding and grant, but let's try with what I wish they would have known before is this family came to Canada as a family. They had a foundation, a rock foundation of love and peace and stability. Regardless with the challenges we faced back in the transition place, but before pre-arrival, we had that love and peace and the smile. But those things, when we get here, it got misplaced and misleading to other direction. So thank you.
That was amazing. You got me rethinking about my whole life right now. However, I would like to add to that before giving another person if they have something to add on that. There was something you mentioned that I found really interesting about the subletting, like when you live with your parents, like back home. When I'm saying back home, I'm bringing which is not a Western place, but back home, a lot of time the parents are the providers. We don't have that culture that you have to go Dutch with your parents, or you have to give 50-50, you have to pay rent, and you have to do this. So when we come, there is that culture shock, and I really like how you talked about it in passing, because it does bring a certain tension within the family, and then you end up there's new things you're learning all of a sudden. There is school, there is all this, so you feel like you're having role reversed with your parents without it being role reversed, and you have a culture to keep and to maintain. So you're just I really like that one. I was like, preach. But Price, there is something that you also mentioned about, I was writing it down, about refugees, just the refugee family should be given a timer when you come here, when you arrive in Canada. Not mostly in Canada, but when you arrive on the place that you have to live now and restore back yourself. Most of the time, when you are in the country, for example, when you say you're in DRC, when you went to Uganda, that was a place that you could always remind yourself that one day I'll go to another place, I'll have a second chance in life. So what popped up in my mind while she was talking about that was the fact that when we arrive here most of the time, it's no longer, oh, I have another place to go. No, this is it. This is your final destination. It's now or never. So that's how you feel when you brought up the mental health. You feel like you are overdoing things because you're trying to make up for the time you lost, maybe when you're in the refugee camp, or maybe when you're still just holding on that dream of I will go one day in Canada, I'll go one day, I'll go to school, I'll make money, I'll build a house with my parents. You have all these things in your brain, And sometimes when you get here, all the expectation that you wish you knew before coming, sometimes I wish they are very transparent when they're giving us orientations before we come to Canada. Because most of the time, yes, they do give you a little bit, but they don't really go in depth. They don't really go like the reality of snow, the reality of the stress, no. So before you know it, depression is hitting, stress is hitting. At home, normally back home, your parents would be the person to guide you in something. Now suddenly, you know the language your parents doesn't know, you have to interpret. So I think that's also one of the things that I was thinking about. It might be one of the sources why most people start hustling with mental health, yet they've never had mental health in their entire life. But all of a sudden, the stress is building up. It's building up, and then different habits start coming through, and families, instead of being together, they are growing apart. They are turning them apart, which made me think of a question. I think I have an answer, but I have a question in my mind when you're saying that. What is it most refugees in camps, they're hustling with all the wars and everything, they manage to stay together. But there is a very big percentage, like statistically talking, when they get here, a lot of family are drifting away. It's not because they don't have the love anymore. The stress is building up. There's just a big of culture shock, but there's a lot to it. So that's what I was thinking, and I was like, now I'm rethinking my whole life right now. Maybe it's a lie. But anyway, guys, the floor is open again. Does anybody have anything to add on the topic regarding service providers and what was your experience as a refugee youth when you arrived, and what you wish they knew or you knew when you first arrived in Canada?
Thank you so much, Praise and Nsonya, for bringing up all those questions and answers. So I wanted to touch on something that Praise said about the technology, on how back home most people don't have the advantage of having phones or having computers. So you find like getting here, it will pile up mostly on the youth that are in the family, where the parents has to be asking, I want help with something. I want help with going for banking. I want help with using the emails. So you find even the person, that child doesn't know much about it. So he has to help the parents that doesn't know anything, and he has to help themselves. And they don't know where to ask questions. Like, they don't know who to ask questions. So they're being misled to finding where they can find the answers, and also the parents start finding out that the child is not doing as much as they have to get for them. So I wish mostly organization really had like some place where they can sit down and say, let us teach them like how to use a computer.
Right.
Or if they come in, let us just start from down, like show you how to type as like parents, or show you how to like go in for banking, and just don't give them papers to sign for something that they don't understand. Because for them, they will go ahead and sign it, but they don't know what's written down, because they haven't got a chance of reading, or they haven't got a chance of using that technology. So that was my point.
Yeah, actually, on what you mentioned about the technology back home is actually a very valid question, because I don't think people really see it and let that sink in their brain. It's not, we are not saying that back home all the parents don't know about technology, or all the elderly don't know, but for people who are busy trying to survive, when are they gonna have time to start affording computers, to go on YouTube, to go on TikTok? No, these are some Gen Z things that when we come here, most people expect everyone to know. And sometimes the organization, the service providers do give them the computer lessons, but it's a very short project. It's short, it's not long. And people who have been in a lot of difficulties and trauma, you don't expect their brain to go really fast like that. Like, first of all, they're elderly. Another one, maybe it's even in a different language. They have never really encountered these type of things you're giving them. And then you tell them, we're going to teach you computer for 3 months. This is the same person who's trying to make their family to be stable, trying to figure out the banking, the school, the meetings, and you're trying to make them to have time to learn what they're saying. I really wish that is something that they should actually really look into and stop making these projects short. Because now you teach them, you stop them in the middle. Do you know who the burden falls on? Ask the children, because now they're like, I learned this, please come help me. Well, you also have your own school stuff going on, so you're like, yes. Even though you don't know as well, you're like, yes, I will. So that was a very good one. Does anybody else have something to add up on the service providers, or would you like us to move to another topic? Because these topics are really getting heated in here, so.
I love the conversations we're already having on this table of what I wish they knew, what I wish all our service providers knew. And I'm going to start with what I wish our mentors knew, and then it will connect to our parents. Coming here, I was 15 years old, and right on when we arrived at Toronto airport, we were speaking English because my family, we had an advantage, we went to school, so we knew English, we could speak in English. So when we arrived at the airport and we're speaking in English, and one of the people who were with us, like the people from RCC, the people who came to pick us from the airport, they're like, you guys speak English? And I was like, yeah, we do. At that point, it did not click. I was just like, yeah, we're supposed to know English, right? Like, I didn't understand it, but coming now in Halifax and starting school was where I began to see the struggles of going to school, because one, we didn't have a mentor. Yes, we did, but all they did is they showed us like, this is the school you're going to go to, this is it, every Monday to Friday, come here at this time, and that is school. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know where my class was. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have any friends. So I'm like, how do I navigate myself? So what I wish our mentors knew is, one, we all don't come from the same background and some experiences. Maybe the scenario or the case is that everybody who is coming from a refugee camp or who's an immigrant should not know English. They're just, they just don't know anything. But there are some of us who at least have been given a little chance to know English. So when I come, I don't want you to treat me like a nobody, like you don't know English, you're just an immigrant, you're dumb. Sorry, I don't know any other word to say. You're dumb, because it makes me feel like, oh man, I'm dumb. But I wish our mentors knew that we all have different experiences and different backgrounds. So when I come, there is no mentor, and it was during the summer actually that they showed me where I was going to school. So in September, I start school. My first day, I go to the office. I'm like, I don't know where to go. Where do I go? And they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be your English class. They introduced me to my teacher. I sit in the class. Mind you, I didn't know it was an English class. Anyways, I sit in the English class. It's called ELA because they thought, man, she does not know English. This is everyone who comes, this is the first class they take. So I'm sitting in there and they're doing grammar. I'm like, I know what a cup is. I know what this is like. Why am I here? Why am I learning what a noun is? So I felt like, why am I here? Like, I just got so disturbed. I hated my first day of school. So I went to the teachers like, can you help me? Because I feel like maybe I'm in the wrong class, but I know English and everything. She's like, oh yeah, you still have to take the class. We need to know what your level of English is. So I ended up taking the class for the next 6 months, half a semester, just because there was nobody there to understand where I was coming from and help me make the right choices and be like, oh, she knows English, then we should just put her into English 10 direct because she can write an essay, she can write a story, she's not the same as this other person. So what our mentors, I wish that they knew is that, hey, we are all coming from different places, we have different experiences. try and learn where I'm coming from so that you can be able to give me your best with the little you know. Because if somebody knew that I spoke English, then I wouldn't spend half a semester learning English that I already knew. So helping us is by understand where I'm from. Like, okay, you know, I'm from Uganda. This is my experience. I've gone to school, I've done English, this is where I'm at. Based on what you know, where can you put me best? And if that doesn't work, then I'm like, okay, maybe let's go forward or let's go back.
Yeah, and also like Uganda is also an English speaking country. Yeah. That's the least like someone should know and not ask you like where like where you're coming from. Yeah. Though I might be in camps, where I may be coming from camps in Kampala or Uganda, they do speak English as an official language. That's actually a very valid one.
So please, our mentors, learn where we're coming from. Just a little story. It doesn't take a lot, like an hour with me and be like, hey, tell me your story. How was it like? How was school like? So that you know what to provide for me the best. And for our parents, what I wish our parents knew, or what I wish somebody taught our parents before even us coming is like, hey, you're going there. It's going to be a lot more different. There's a culture shock, like, the way we do things back home is not the way we're going to do them here. As Praise talked about, like our service providers and, helping our parents do the banking, going to school, setting up an email. When the service providers fail at that burden is put on us. And our parents cannot understand that, oh man, she goes to school, as an elder person in the house, like I'm the elder sister, I go to school, I have to make sure my siblings are fine, I have to take things around the house, make sure everything is fine. And then on top of that, I have to also help my parents. Like my mom comes home, she's like, I got an email, I don't know what to do with it. And then you try to log in, she forgot a password, and it's another time you're like, oh boy, where do we go from here? I wish somebody, like, when we come, like, that first month, I wish somebody just sat with our parents and be like, hey, this is how things work here. The parenting is different. There's a different environment. Like, we go through mental health. We go through all these problems. And on top of that, we are also humans. Like, we have emotions. And sometimes it is hard as a daughter, as a child, you don't want to be rude to your parents, but you still also want to help them. So creating that balance is always hard for us. So I wish somebody told our parents and be like, it is different. There's some things you're going to have to accept. There's some parenting styles you're going to have to stop. There's some things that you just like, I just wish there was somebody another thing, I wish there was somebody who was there to tell our parents about therapy. Because we come here and we think, oh yeah, we are very resilient. We've been through things. And our parents think that, mental health is just, it's nothing. Like there's nobody to sit with them and be like, this happens here. It is a big thing. And we have to talk about things. We have to create a work and life balance. So I think with that, I'll stop right there and I'll give to somebody else if they want to add on.
Just to add on that, that's like a very valid question. It's a very big one. Therapy. When you are in the mode of survival, there's a difference between living and surviving. As a matter of fact, there is no living if you're in survival mode. And then our parents tends to be in the same mode even when we are here. Yes, they have started to live. They're not wondering anymore where these little things will come from, but in their brain, they're still in a survival mode, and they have time now to process what is going on, what is happening, but on the back of their brain, they're still on the survival mode. So it's a bit hard to explain what is going on and what is therapy, especially, I'm just going to call it. Mental health back home is like a little bit of taboo. Cause what do you mean you're depressed? Go wash the dishes if you are depressed. They do not all, I feel also like back home, and I'm going to speak the whole of Africa here. you do not find a lot of atheists. You don't find, no, most people have a little group of a religious group which kind of hold them to their morals. It can be Muslims, Christians, Catholic, they have that bounds them. So if you say you're depressed or something, they'll tell you go pray.
Yeah.
It's that go pray. It's not there. So I also wish that part, I wish they knew. And unfortunately, something that they still struggle with. It's not only them, even I had to learn how to let my emotions sink in. And just because most of the time it's like, go pray, okay? If you're not feeling good, yeah, praying is good, but we also need to acknowledge. But later I got to understand our parents, even us, we didn't have time to acknowledge our feelings because we're in the survival mode. I don't have time to start figuring out, am I sad? No, you're trying to see if you can see tomorrow or you can go to school tomorrow. You don't have a little gap of sitting with your thoughts. I'm not saying like it was war 24/7, but when you're in that mode, my fellow refugees will understand you were in that mode. And when you're serious, it's just like, that one was actually a very valid, it hit home. I was like, yeah, preaching to me right now. Anybody else who would like to submit? Yes, praise?
What I wish parents would know is the parenting style and the culture. Like as kids inside the house, there is a peer pressure outside. Like as children, we are coming here not only with 2 cultures, but we are coming here with 3 cultures. The culture from the originally homeland, I will bring an example like African Congolese culture, and then the amount of years I spent in Uganda, I had to learn their culture, their way of living. And when I got to Canada, there is a 3rd culture. So to implement all those cultures, being a young kid back there in Uganda, I couldn't balance it. So I adopted all those cultures. And when I got here, there is already a circle of children who grew up here, and me, I will try to break that circle to see if I can build trust. So parents, I would love them to acknowledge that I can be able to protect my identity and my value and my morals while keeping the same culture and blending them together without getting lost. And I would love parents to acknowledge as well that as youth, newcomer youth here or refugees, we have commitment outside the household. It's not like a yes say do, but I have commitment and engagement to fulfill because I'm trying to build my future, a dream, and I'm trying to make all those goals, which I had to stop for a couple of years, to be able to revive them. And another thing, parents, I would love them to know that saying no to them, it's not being disrespectful, but it's a way as well to develop my independency, because even them, they have that independency, and I don't want them to feel like they are less values in our eyes, but we are giving them the same position and would allow them to keep their responsibility and to be that dynamic as they used to, not to give up and say, now we have reached this point, you guys, I'd love you to do more. It's not on our accountability to make you live your dream, but you can support us, and all of us at the same time, we can try to make our life to be better, and we can be responsible and accountable to one another. Thank you.
I would like to add this to parents. Here it comes. This is for my lovable, loving parents, all of them. This is for you. With all due respect, WhatsApp University should not be a thing. Do you know why? Because as Praise talked about the trust, yes, it's there. You need to learn to trust us. However, I understand where you come from on how you don't want to trust us most of the time. When I'm like, I want to go to the library, when I'm in your community, you're like, no, because I heard this and this and this on WhatsApp, on this and this and this. No, how about you hear me out? How about you hear me, a child? I'm speaking to you. How about you hear me out? And trust me. Have a little bit of trust on the morals you did put in me as a child. Trust them. Trust those instincts. Yes, we understand there's some bad seeds out there. how about you trust us as your children? Who you raised up from God knows how many things you had to go through. We value that, we respect that, we are forever gonna be grateful. Yes, we know, you brought us here, you can kill us. Yes, we know that sentence so well. But we still want you to see us and also just give us a little trust. Yes, if we abuse the trust that you give us, then cut off that priority, but at least we will know in the back of our brain, you trusted us. When we told you we are going here, that's where we are going. Because how do you expect us to integrate in the community as new youth refugees? As we also don't want to keep having the refugee name as a forever thing. No, that does not define us. Mom, dad, that does not define us, not at all. But then it makes us who we are, and we help people around us. Our behaviors is kind of different from others because we've seen the worst. We are trying to make the best out of ourselves. So we will want you to trust us and not trust the aunties, the uncles, the group chat. No, trust us and believe us because we understand it's difficult for you too. Yes, anybody else?
Okay, so just what Sarah said about the language, like when you come here, you know how to speak English, but they still send you back in an English class, right? That doesn't make sense sometimes because they give you this test, you get everything 7, which is the maximum, then you get maybe a 6 in listening, and they say you still need to go back to an English. Like, how that does make sense, right? What I wish, like this, not just school, but even other places knew, is that to give someone the chance, to move on. Okay, give me a chance. Let me prove to you that, okay, I know this, I can do this, I can do that, right? Instead of no, go back in the English class and do that. So yeah, that was it.
So technically you're saying, let me fail and then I'll learn from it. Don't just tell me, no, you can't. No, you don't know what I'm capable of. Especially if you study so hard back home. At least I know in Uganda, because I was also in Uganda. For those you name, they have these government classes that you have to study so hard for to get in. It's like your life depends. Now imagine you work so hard to get in those processes. For example, I was in boarding school. So for anyone who's been in boarding school, they know the drill. You wake up at 4, you don't see your family. It's technically like prison, but school. It's very severe. You work so hard to learn the English and also learn the language of there most of the time. So you're learning English. For those who are in Uganda, you learn the Luganda language to fit in. And when you come here, they are just putting everything you learn there as if it's nothing. No. It's making me want to cry. No. Anyways, we would like to discuss about something that we wished the education system knew. And I do have my wonderful Saeed and Chadia that will be breaking this down. So the floor is all yours.
Thanks so much for all my colleagues, friends, for talking about all these amazing topics that refugees and newcomers faces when they come to a new country that's settled them down and they want to be a part of something here. I'm actually going to be talking right now about the education system here. One of the big thing that faces refugees, I'm also going to talk about on my behalf and on behalf of our amazing new refugee newcomers. On my own experience, I talk about one big thing that happened to me when I first came here. I'm the oldest of my family, and when I left my country, we had a really big crisis going on there, so I had to leave and go live in a camp for quite a bit, and then go and try to live my life throughout the new country that I go to. We have a lot of different look at the cultures and a lot of different background perspective, but when we came here to Canada, it was a huge move for us. It's a huge move for us, and for everyone who's trying to just blend into the new education system. One thing that happened to me that as soon as I came to the country, I was actually put into the education system. I had to go and study at the high school, that I was a little bit older than the kids, that under the HRC system, that everyone can study in the high school, governmental high school, until the age of 21. And I was 19 and almost 20 years old. When I first came here, it's like, for me, it's a little bit of a hard time to get and blend with no language. And honestly, it's been like 4 years for me since I left the school because of my country crisis. And then it was like a really punch in the face for me when I first came into the new school, new people, new language, a lot of new friends, and it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to blend with the system. And for me, like, they just put me in, for example, I was put in a classes that I can't do. With a person with a level 1 of English, I was put in a science class, and I was put in a history class. It's so hard. It's so hard to deal with. You can't really go into the school with just like basic English and go into like, a science class. It's pretty hard. And then from there, I was trying to blend. Like, I was trying so hard for the first month or two to just learn English, meet new people, trying to just blend with these people. It was still hard. I made a lot of friends, and from there, honestly, like I was really glad that a lot of people actually were really helpful, of like students and teachers. They were really helpful, like basic English with their strong English. They were trying to understand me, trying to understand them with the sign language. They were like trying to just. It was just really hard. And regarding of a lot of students who was also the same shoe, who was like I'm not going to talk about everyone who actually came as a refugee and newcomers, because a lot of people had the chance of studying back home or studying in the country you were in. I didn't. There's a lot of people also didn't, who were in camps, who was working, who was trying to help the family to stand up. Because me, as also younger, the oldest, like the oldest person in between my siblings, I had to work to help my dad and to help my mom also to stand up and to just pay rent, to pay bills, and to just blend with it, like with the system that there. And then like coming here and just going into school was really hard for me. It's really really hard for me, because I had a dream of something, and it was broken down because of the crisis. And then now I have everything that's open to me, everything that's like, you have all these chances, take it, but you can't, because of the language barrier and because of like this called the culture shock that you have. And 8 years now of just being like trying hard to just reach to somewhere. Now I'm working with a non-profit organization that we also work with newcomer youth. I work with this company that covers over 40 schools around HRM, and I'm seeing the same system just being a loop back and forth. It's the same thing that's happening. I wish HRC can understand the thing that we're going through. I wish HRC just see what's the problem with these things that's like with the system that makes the youth not go to school. I'm seeing right now a big percentage of students, of high school students, doesn't go to the classes. Why? Language barrier, culture shock. And then when you don't go to class, you will see also people who doesn't go to class. Maybe they will be troublemakers, or like they'll be just they don't go to class because of something. And then you just blend into that. And from there you build these students who doesn't want to go to class, who doesn't want to listen to parents, who goes outside all the time, doesn't really care about what's the parenting system in his house.
Yeah.
And from there you build a troublemaker. From there you build a person who doesn't care about their future. I'm working with those students who's the first in need. And I swear to God, if you hear them out, it's ridiculous. It's so bad. It's so bad to just like feel and see what they went through. I was in the same shoe one day. And I had to go to 3 different schools to just finish my high school diploma. That's 18 classes. 18 classes took me 3 years to almost 4 years. It's so ridiculous, because I had to learn English at the beginning. learning English wasn't very hard for me because I had to blend pretty quick, and I actually like had to meet a lot of people to do that. I did a lot of volunteering and went through organizations to just learn English, because learning English in the school for a newcomer is so hard and take you a really long time to learn if you don't engage in the community. I had to work and also go to school. 2 years later, I worked in an organization and also in a store, and also I was studying at the same time. I was a full-time student and a full-time worker just to build myself and to reach to a point that I actually love to in my life. And as I was saying in the past, 8 years later, and I'm seeing the same problem going back and forth. I wish HRC just do something about it. There's a lot of ideas I'm taking from youth. A lot of ideas. One of them, why don't you just make us a class to teach us about the school system before we go to school?
That's true. Yes, that's true.
A week or two, just teach me about the school system before I go to it.
That's true.
You throw me in a class that I don't understand anything in, that's a no-no. Like, I can't. I really can't. It's like, for me, I'd be like rather than like just sleeping in the morning instead of going to class. If I have a science or a history or a geography class in the morning, no, I'd rather to sleep because I can't do anything in the class. And if you just stay in the class doing nothing, the teacher will start asking about your homework, about your attendance, about your just like being in the class and who are you, like what are you doing here? It's so hard for a lot of students. Not every refugee is facing the problem, but a lot of them, there's a lot of them just facing the same problem from different perspectives, from schooling, home, also from the home. There's a really big pressure from the house that's, why aren't you going to school? Why aren't you doing your classes? Why aren't you doing well? I'm sorry, Dad, because I can't study. I can't tell this to my dad. No. I cannot. I came from a place that you have to have a degree.
Again.
You have to have a degree. And right now I'm just telling my dad, like, I can't do my high school because I just can't stay there. I don't understand anything. There is no understanding of a reason. They wouldn't understand it this way. They would say that you are not good because you are not doing well. Right. I'm sorry, but it's a really big thing we need to focus on. We need to look up for. Lots of organizations here helps with that. I help with that right now. We just provided a new position just to help first priority people. Lots of people are just going back to track right now. It's just because we're focusing on them. Before, it was really hard to. And right now, I hope that we are doing well with that, and I hope that HRM just look at it just this way, and hopefully we'll fix it.
Which is also the beauty of, thank you for sharing, by the way, which is also the beauty of hiring somebody who has also been in the system, because when you come in contact with these people, with refugee youth and stuff, you know what they're going through, even though they may not be able to have it in words. You've been there, so you're trying to make it better. So you're trying to ask, what do I wish I knew, or my 19-year self knew when I arrived? So this is cool, especially for the organizations that are dealing with students, most especially newcomer refugee students, who are also hustling with the language and everything. That's actually a very good one. I wanted to add on something on the curriculum, the school curriculum. The thing that you mentioned earlier about what the students said about why can't they just have a class that 2 weeks prior to the opening back of school, or maybe it can be an ongoing project that newcomers, when they arrive, they tell them this is a curriculum, this is it, this is it. Because most of the time, a lot of students here grew up here. They know the curriculum. The parents went to school here. Even if they might have moved maybe from Europe to here, that system is still pretty much the same. They have someone they can ask. For most of us, And I'm not saying this to victimize ourselves, but this is things that we lived, and we are sadly we are still living. We learn as we go. So if it's jumping fire, I'm jumping, and I'll know if it's burning, how hot it is. It doesn't matter. So you're navigating friendship, you're navigating school curriculum, you're navigating. There's something that Praise had mentioned earlier that I don't want to forget about it, about settling in and the groups. When I went in high school, I found out a lot of people had their childhood friends. They went from the same childcare, junior high. I came in right in high school. You know how hard it is? I also faced the situation of someone asking me to even speak English. Don't even get me started. But that's a different case. But if we stay in the same topic that we are talking about right now, a lot of times these people know themselves already. Our peers know themselves. And unfortunately, in the curriculum, there is a lot of group work. So when you try to sit with them and say, okay, let's do this, most of them, they go around their group and you feel very isolated. I feel this in a very psychological level. Like they will team up, and I'm not saying, oh, they're leaving me alone. No, they're used to each other, and I'm just new, and I am sitting, and I say to myself, I wish they will make them understand so that they should not be this ignorant. Every kid in there should have known that. I don't want them to look at me with pettiness or sympathy. No, I want them to know she's our peers. She doesn't have any friend yet. We gotta be nice to. That's the only thing we are asking. We've have enough that we are dealing with. We just need to be accepted, and that's all we need. Because that act there of isolation, it had a way it plays with my mental health. I'm like, what is wrong? Why don't you want to sit with me? And before I know it, I go home and I'm like Saeed said, do I ever want to go back to school tomorrow? And some of these things I already know, but because in a different language, I don't know what to do, and I cannot go to my parents and tell them I cannot do this, because they'll be like, so you're saying you're dumb? You're calling yourself dumb? This is how they'll literally say. And it's really hilarious, but to them, you're intelligent, and if you back home you're an A straight student, they don't expect you. No, you don't. In our family, we don't fail. In our family line, we are this. So that part there, it's the biggest thing that I really wish they can educate both the student, but mostly the teachers across the board to understand the difference on how to handle newcomers, and most especially newcomers, refugees. Two different things. We are not the same. We are not the birds of the same feathers. No, two different things. So I feel better already letting that out. Anyone else? Marc, you have something?
I just wanted to add on what he said about education. So, see, like most of us Africans coming here, like most older or grown-up Africans, sometimes they believe school is for kids. Most of the time, coming back home to here, So then the other thing comes up is that most of us come back from home to here and we are done with our high school. Some of us might even start university, right? But then when we get here, sometimes because of language barrier, which I understand, and other things, they tend to send you back to high school, which doesn't make sense at all, right? Because if I come here, I'm done my high school back home, you study geography here, you study physics, you study math, that's the same things we did back home. And on top of that, they'll give you a test in math, in physics, maybe just English that you fail, but still they'll tell you, no, you don't match anything, you have to go back and upgrade your courses, your credits or whatever, which I feel is bad because considering me, first of all, as I came back from home to here, I finished my high school. But then when I came here, I was in Alberta before coming back to Halifax. I got there, they told me to go back to English school. I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I studied my whole life in English, then I came here and you're telling me to go back for English course. That doesn't make sense, right? Then when I moved back here in Halifax, I had my representative as a newcomer, right? She told me, no, you can go and apply at Citadel. They take people who are 20 years, which I think is the maximum. I was like, no, I still can't do that. I finished high school. I just need something that I can, blend in and proceed to university. That's when she referred me to NSCAD. When I went there, they presented me the test. I passed everything. Then they just told me you just need a few courses to upgrade and to, start on with your program or whatever you choose to do. I find that was very good. And one thing I wish the education system knew or can do is to consider our high school credits or our educational backgrounds that we come with here. Because you can't tell me if I learned back home in English, all the same courses, all the same things that you guys do here, which might be a little bit different, but it's kind of like the same thing. You don't consider it, then what was the point of me going to school? So that doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Regarding to what also Marc said, there's a really big thing about like the courses.
Yes.
It's a huge thing. Just 3 days ago, this past week, there was a kid, well, actually he's 17 years old. He just came from the country that he was living in. He was studying grade 12. And when he came here, his English level was like only 3, so he cannot continue some classes that he was doing, like English, communication tech, or history, or like, etc. So they were like, oh, you have to redo. So he had originally, with the credit that he gave, he had 13 courses. And they blend him down to 2.
Whoa.
2 courses. 2 courses out of 13. So now you have to do at least 3 years in the high school instead of just doing 1, which is you can do like 8 courses, I'd say, like maximum. Yeah. Why are we doing this to the youth? I swear to God, he came to me just down. He wanted to just quit school. He's been here only for 6 months. And right now he just wants to quit school, not go there, and just start working somewhere. It was like, I just worked something back home, so I can just do it here instead of just going to school. I was like, what are you just saying? What are you just saying? There is like lots of stuff we can do. I was like, just calm down. Oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. And he was like, no, like I can't, because they told me like, if you want to do this, you have to start from English. And then from English, just learning new language. I understand, but you have to learn English. That's the number one thing that you need to do. But why are we cutting his classes? You have to read recite because you don't know English. I have it done. But no, they're like, you have to redo it. This is something like, please, just ask the youth, what are you doing in the future? Just don't throw them in classes that they don't need. I don't need drama in my, like, when I be like an engineer, I don't need drama there. I need arts, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't need like to be like in the chemistry if I'm not going to like a medical school or like medical science.
Gymnastic.
Please just understand my needs, and then just blend me there, and I'll be happy to continue. It's a problem for a lot of youth, and lots of them are just quitting classes now and just quitting going to school just towards trades. I know that more than 5 people that I know just quit school just to go to trades. That's really sad. I wish they understand it. And just ask the kids, what are you doing? What are you going to be doing? If you need this, you need that, you need this. If this school doesn't fit you, there's NSCAD, there's Canada School to just like upgrade your English. There's iSense language for people who's 20 and older, like you can be there. It's just the main fact of just understanding what they need and then just go with it. Please do not throw the kid in a place that they don't need to be there. And that's pretty much it from my side.
I want to thank my colleague for the points that they made, and mostly I'm going to be talking about the education system. Marc and Saeed, they did talk about like repeating like some of the classes or repeating English. So as for me, I got a chance to go to finish my high school, and I worked so hard in Uganda because they have like a level that you have to have so that you can go in a good school. So I worked hard that I was amongst like the top 5 people that had to go to a good university. But that was just because of the help from the people that were there. Like how Nsonya did say that you had to find yourself in a good community so that you can work hard and you can get like how you can live a good life where you were living in that time. So I did good, and then coming to this place where I was like, wow, I'm going to have everything, I'm going to get a good education, and maybe I had the goals like I needed to be something like good in the future. So getting here and going to school, applying to like university or applying to NSCC, and then they had to say, oh, no, you have to give us your English scores. You had to get like a score, is it level 10 that you have to get into university? So I went to do like the test, and then I get level 8. But it doesn't mean that I was bad. Maybe it was more about like, okay, this is a different system. So how am I going to settle up in this different system? So as a child who's just coming from a different country, getting to fit into the system, now you have to give them other classes, go for science, go for drama, or go for like something else. They feel less of themselves. They feel like they haven't studied enough, or what they were studying there, it's not qualified for anyone who's going to go in university here. So for me, even talking about like the other people that are coming here, they're going to feel like they don't vary, like their papers don't mean anything in the university here. So as Saeed was saying, like a lot of young and youth, refugee youth that are coming in, they go into that system and they start thinking about what are they going to do next. So they tend to drop out into school so that they can go in trade school or they can go for work. But here we need the paper to actually say that you have done something in university or you have gone to college. So we are having a lot of trouble where children are not being heard from the teachers because they don't know where they're coming from. Like a child, okay, you came from a refugee background, but they don't know the trauma that you have gone on, like back home. So they're going to treat you as like any other Canadian, any other child that just came from maybe from another country. But maybe that child didn't have the same trauma that you had.
True.
So they tend to be, I recently got to sit down with the child that went through the same system. But I didn't know that she was facing the same thing. She was being not bullied, she was joining a group where she was hard because she's coming from like Sudan, from a country that she has seen all the trauma, but the teachers would take her like she's being aggressive in school or she's being trouble. But they haven't sat down with her to just listen how she feels, listen what's going in with her at home, why she's refusing to go to school. All that piles up where they have, I wish they knew they could bring someone who has had the same experience. In schools, I think, I haven't gone to high school here. I think they do have some people come and interpret for them, like interpret for youth. But I don't think they really get to see even like going back home in their homes and sit down and try to understand them. Maybe I don't know what happens, but taking decisions for them, it won't be a good thing, but listening to them, I feel like that would be a good thing. Yeah, that's what I have.
I would like to add something on what Chadia have just spoken. It's regarding the teachers knowing their audience, like knowing the refugee kid in the classroom. I wish they could have a time and ask that refugee kid, how are you doing in my class? Where are you finding challenges? How can I help? Because that one would boost the self-confidence, and the kid will realize that he does matter. Education is the #1 key in the face of adversity, and we as a refugee kid, we do have a lot of adversity, which are not similar to what we faced before coming into this country. And another point which I want to emphasize is regarding paperwork and documentation. Coming to in this country as a refugee, sometime during the run and you are running, you lost everything. And then we get here, I reached a point where I was supposed to do my exam, my final exam, and get my license as a nurse. But I was asked to show a birth certificate, which I came with it. I'm running. How am I saving my life, or am I grabbing documentation?
Preach.
I'm grabbing nothing. I'm coming. And then I realized there is no communication between the IRCC and the school here. People need to be educated regarding a life of a refugee family and a refugee kid, because there are other paper documents which IRCC provided to youth and kids which they can show, but the school system doesn't know those papers and they don't recognize those papers. And there is no much information coming from both sides or any direction which can lead you, okay, go this place. And then I had to work hard to know what I was supposed to do to replace that paperwork, that document, yet I was already told if I don't present that birth certificate, I'm not doing the exam. Yet I've spent 2 years studying. So that is like reviving my past trauma, because you are trying to bring me on a stage of asking me, how come you never take that? I'm feeling guilty, yet I was trying to survive. And another point is about the school system, the way the school system do communicate with refugee parents, like the kid, especially junior high and elementary school. There is a miscommunication. Of course, we know it's all about the Green Project, but think about that newcomer family. They don't have their printers at home. When you are telling the kid, if your parent doesn't sign the document which we have sent via email, you won't be participating in so-and-so activities. Most of the parents, they don't know how to write and they don't know how to sign electronically. Please, do an accommodation for those newcomers. Give them hard copy, and then parents will be able to sign and return it back home, because it's creating more frustration to the refugee families. And not only that, about the report as well. When you are sending a report via email, they don't know how to log in. They don't know how to do that. And then the question is, they will be asking the kid, do you go to school or you don't go to school? Because nobody is understanding. Maybe a session where they would be inviting refugee parents and explain to them how the system is working, how they are moving from this state to the digital state, and give them support, and through that way they will catch up. And the last thing which I wanted to add is regarding the student at school, because we have a different menu, and most of the kids, they don't want to take their culture food at school because of the bullying stuff. And then the parent is encountered, he needs to accommodate his menu to Canadian menu, which they don't know how to cook, and the kids are starving. The food you are giving the kid, they throw it in the garbage. Why? The teachers as well, they don't bring diversity in the class or teaching the culture. Okay, you are coming from this culture and the other culture. What about creating a potluck session where every kid will bring the food at school, and then people will learn about the culture instead of bullying that kid because of the food the kid is bringing in. Preach? No?
That was good. Thank you guys. That was a highway of all emotions, a high and lows, especially coming from different experiences, and some of these are like fresh ones. However, I have something to add to that. I hope and I wish the school system knows all over the world, especially in the Western world, that by refusing and denying us an opportunity for them to recognize our back home school credit, it's like you're giving us wings, but you're taking away the sky. It does not work. Because you're telling me, yes, you can go to school with all this technology, with all these things, but guess what? You're going to go backwards. You're going to go 5 classes backward. Who has time for that? Like, even in age gap wise, my friend group is going to be different. For example, I am 17 years old, and then you're telling me I got to go backward. No one in grade 11 or 10 is 17. Everyone is in grade 12. Everyone is talking about prom. I find myself out of place. I find myself, I don't know who to communicate with. And here comes another pressure that I didn't know I had to go through. So, and it also brings something about my self-esteem. So what was the reason for me to study hard back home? Again, stop doing that, please, because you're definitely, yes, you're doing something good by providing us free education, but you're taking away our sky. So how about you just don't give us both? Or you give us both, like it's one of the two. We are getting heated here, and then we have our last participant, Marc, who will also like to share something, and guys, feel free to join to make any comment. So, Marc, the floor is all yours again.
Okay, thank you so much, Heureuse, for the opportunity again to continue on and talk about the topic we're being on to. So I'm going to talk about the employers or employment in general, concerning newcomers, mainly refugees. Starting with me, first of all, personally, like, as I came here from back home, I never wasn't really in an employment sector because I never went to work after school back home because it's not easy to get job back home. Even if you finish school, high school or university, it's very hard. Unless maybe you have some connections with people who work at that job, or you have someone you know, then you can get connected and start work, right? But then we had like a store at home. We had a business, so I was mainly working as a cashier, friendly in the store. So when I came here, it wasn't that hard for me because I just wanted to look for the same type of employment that I knew that I was doing back home, right? Although there's a lot of opportunities around that I can still learn from and, broaden my experiences and everything else. I was lucky I got into an employment. I worked for, if I can say McDonald's, yes. I worked for them for quite a while, and I really loved my job because it's something that I grew up doing, working at the front cashier, I worked with them for a long while. But then working for them and then talking to my friends, because I had a couple of friends who came from here as well, from back home, who as well never had jobs from back home to here. They used to give me their resumes to, send in to work, refer them and all the stuff. But then I realized most of them were never really called in or whatever even none of them was never been employed. But it touched me a lot, which I felt bad. I'm like, why a type of job like in McDonald's, which is like food service, it takes like 3 days to train someone to do something and they can go on and do such a thing, right? But then I realized like some employers, I just don't want to be specific on McDonald's or whatever, but in general, some employers, like, they don't give chances, opportunities to people from outside, especially when they see your name, like, let me say, for example, Marc Kadiata, right? Or Marc, whatever African name you may have. If they just see your last name that doesn't resemble any English in it, they disqualify you 100%, That's very bad because they didn't even see you in the first place. They just saw your name and that was it. Why? That's very bad. But if they give you that opportunity to showcase, maybe you'll be even more committed and do more for them in their job and bring it more to the table. That would be a good thing, So I just wish they could give more opportunities to different people with different backgrounds, to work together, because you never know what the whole team can bring to the table while working from different backgrounds. One next thing also is I wish employers or employees knew about refugees, mainly about like our past war traumas and experiences that we have, because most of us tend to have those things running in our minds, and we tend to be depressed. You know, sometimes you may look at someone at work, they're just quiet, they don't talk, they don't do it. You don't ask them what's the problem. You know, some employments, they don't do that. They're just there, okay, do this. Did you do that? Okay, I did it. Did you do that? But they see you in that way, and they don't approach you to ask you to know more in detail what's going on with you, you know? If they could be doing that more and more, it could give more employees the opportunity to be like, okay, here's my manager, she's my manager, she's asking me this and that. Let me open up and tell them this and that. Okay, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. One other thing I wish employees or employers could do is to give us time. Mainly, like for us African, we value our time with our family a lot. But then when we came here, you're being told to work more hours than expected sometimes. You know, sometimes they tell you to stay at work for extra 4 or 5 hours, which you didn't even want to do. But you just have to stay there because I'm afraid to get fired. I'm new here, you know. You're like, okay, it's my boss, let me just tell him to do this and that. But then they don't realize that they are pulling you away from your family, because as Africans, we know, we go from work in the morning, we're back in the evening, 3 to 3, 7, maybe to 3, you're back home. It was never most like 12 hours or 13 hours. No, most of us back home, we know, is 8 hours work, and we're back home in the evenings. The works we know that people work at night is either securities or in the hospitals. Most of the time, yeah, that's the truth, most of the time. But then when you came here, it's different, right? Some people stay at work overnight and then they see their family tomorrow, which is not good. I just wish they could give people more time to, you know, just blend into the system, instead of just when you come here, they don't know about your background or anything, and they just put you straight forward with everyone who is around you, and you start working those extra hours. Yes, you need money, of course, but they also have to understand that, no, you need time with your family, you know, to do this, to do that, and etc., things like that. So for me personally, what I wish I knew is about the work culture, just like about what I spoke about, extra hours, working in school, working and punctuality, teamwork, and all these things. In Africa, we value time, but not a lot, to be honest. Yeah, because most of us don't believe, like when they say 7, it should be there at 7 now. We add in some extra 5, some extra 6 minutes, you know. But I wish I knew that before coming here, because I have understood that people here value time very much. And if you're at work, they say 7, you have to be there 10 minutes earlier than that, or else you're gonna miss your chance, or you're gonna miss your opportunity. And as well, I wish I knew about the teamwork, collaboration things, you know, because I believe working in a team makes the production move on. But then me, who came from Africa, I know sometimes as African, we believe when you work alone, that's when the boss will see like, oh my gosh, you're doing the job, you need a promotion, this and that, you know, those kind of things. But then we realize that when you work together in a team here, like, you know, divide work and stuff, that's what makes production go on. And what else I wish I knew? It's about being able to build connection. Because sometimes when you come here as a new person, you are not used, or I'll say you are that kind of a person where you go to work and go home, go to work, go home. But if in the beginning we had those chances, when you get here, you go outside, you explore, you meet people, you build connection, you know, that will give you the opportunity to be able to know a lot of different things. Maybe you were never a food service worker, but because you just got in there and they employ you and you decide, okay, I'm gonna stay here. Why? Because you don't have connection with other places, with other people. But when you connect with other people, they tend to open more opportunities, more chances to do different things, and you don't know where you're gonna end up being, right? So that's very good. Just like we are here right now. You know, most of us took this opportunity to be like, okay, let's go on, let's do this and that, and we don't know what doors can open from here to do what can be next, right? So, yeah, that'll be it for me.
Thank you so much, Marc. That deserves a round of applause. as your last one thing that I would like to add to that, I think you touched on it just a little bit on under what we wish we also knew is the power of volunteering. We do not volunteer back up free work as in what do you mean? However, here it's a very big sector about if you want to make connection, you need to volunteer, give back to the community that you're getting from. And a lot of us newcomers really do hassle with that for a little bit because one, that's not our culture more. Like we don't know that system, and once we volunteer, when they say you have to give back to the community, I just got here. I don't even know my community. I don't know what community. I'm trying to figure out these things, and yeah, the power of volunteering is very vast and deep, and I've seen how it has helped a lot of people even to learn English quicker. People get to know about you before you know it. You didn't have a neighbor, now a neighbor knows your name because all of you are volunteering the same club, and I saw how volunteering did open up my eyes when it comes to selecting my classes at university. I volunteer somewhere, just eardropping what people are talking, and I got to know, I was like, oh, this is what it's called. So that was pretty interesting, especially the employers. You can also get your first job through volunteering, and your employers is like, oh, I've seen your work, even though I'm not paying you, but I've seen your work. I would like you to work for me just like that. If you're listening, if you're still listening till now, thank you for diving with us through this. This was a very impactful conversation. It has a lot of experience within it. It has a lot of emotions through it. We did pour a lot of our heart into this conversation, and we hope that the targets that we targeted today, the service providers, parents, employers, the school system, the community, all of them, we wish you will have a chance one day to listen to this and maybe make some changes on the few factors we have mentioned that we did have a problem with as new refugee youth in Canada. And thank you so much for sitting on this table of I wish they knew, and yeah, that's it. And we're gonna have a very participant.